Awesome. As mentioned by our Sergeant at Arms in the beginning of the session, we are going to have your mics muted. Feel free to send any questions that you have to me, the moderator, and I will have the questions answered as and when I think it's appropriate. And if you have any comments, can you please save it until the end? Because it's difficult to see the questions when they're comments and questions. Now, let's talk about this session. If you look at District 101 statistics, you might conclude that our clubs need assistance with a fundamental skill, which is bringing guests in and turning them into members. 6 clubs have been suspended since the beginning of this year. 77% of our clubs are below charter strength. Charter strength is 20 members or more. And 43% are at 12 members or below. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, 13% are below 8 members. Clearly, our clubs are struggling. There are probably many, many reasons why they're struggling. And what can we, as club members, do about it? Whatever we've been doing, we need to try something very different. We need to attempt something new. Today, our keynote presenter is going to suggest something new. Past District 32 Director, distinguished Toastmaster, Kyle Hall, thought he understood Club Row until that understanding was shattered and then made into a bigger and stronger vision. Here to share with us his thoughts on one of our club's fundamental skills, Kyle's presenting Club Marketing 101. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, please help me welcome Kyle Hall. Remember, the session's going to be 75 minutes long, and save your questions, send them through chat to me, and save your comments for the end. Over to you, Kyle. Take it away.
Where are they? Where are they? I was part of a club and we had planned this open house and we thought we did everything right. We wrote press releases and got it in the local paper. We put up flyers around town. We invited our friends. We had free food. We did everything right. And it was the night of the open house and we're waiting for the guests. One guest showed up for the free food. One guest. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been a part of or seen a lot of membership building activities that are less than effective. Let's just say less than effective. Sometimes you get some guests. Maybe a guest comes back. Maybe they turn into a member. But how do we make them effective, and how do we turn ourselves into turning them into member machines? We want our clubs to be healthy. If you've ever been a member of a club that's over 20 people, 25 people, 30 people, it's a totally different energy than a club that's existing at 12. How do we turn our clubs into member building machines? And I'm going to talk today, I'm going to try to talk a little about applying some modern marketing principles to Toastmasters building our clubs. But I'm also going to talk about a couple of the elephants in the room that not everybody addresses. Now, I can't share my screen. Abhijit, are you able to share your screen?
Yes, can you try? I have enabled you for sharing screen too.
Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can share. Yay, I can. So I closed my slides because I couldn't share. Give me 1 second. Okay. I have 2 slides to show you. Take all of 60 seconds, and then no more slides. Years ago, well, not even years ago, I thought I understood how to grow a club. I mean, I'd read how to plan a marketing event, how to plan an open house. I'd done several of them. I'd even done some research on how clubs had done successful open houses. I thought I understood how to grow an open house. And then Lance Miller came to our district and spoke at our conference. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen while I tell the story. I don't know if you're familiar with Lance Miller. Yeah, he won the 2005 World Championship of Public Speaking. But before that, he was a member of a club down in LA. And this is when the distinguished club program that TI had that was completely insane. And what I mean by insane is they actually rated every club. They compared every club in the world to every other club in the world, and they rated them from 1 down to the bottom. It was absurd. Well, when Lance Miller joined this club, his club was it was poor and down towards the bottom of the list. And he, in the office of that club, took it to 4th in the world. 90 members and 4th in the world. And they did it by applying marketing principles. And when he told that story, and when I bought his CDs and listened to him, it shattered my idea of marketing. And I've slowly over time remade it. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. But sharing my screen, I suggest that your club go to Lance Miller's website and pick up how to promote and market a club and building a championship club. The one on the white one on the left will play in any CD. The blue one, I think, wants a computer. I don't think it'll play in a car CD. I have listened to the white one multiple times driving from city to city doing district business. I think every club should own a copy of these. I think it should be required listening for vice presidents of membership. And just to be honest, just to be thorough, I have no fiscal relationship with Lance Miller. I don't get any money for recommending this. I just think it's brilliant material and worth listening to. Now, let's talk about today. We're going to talk about club marketing, but we need to look at some other things first. Here's the timeline for bringing in a guest and turning him into a member. First, we have to attract them. That's where I want to spend most of our time. When they get in the door, we have to wow them. Our meetings have to wow them, because let's face it, if you attract a member, if you go to all the work to attract a member and they come to your meeting and at the end of the meeting you ask, hey, what do you think of the meeting? And they go, was it worth all the work to attract them? No. So we have to wow them. We're going to spend a few minutes on wowing them. We're going to spend a tiny bit of time on treating them like royalty. And if we have time at the end, we might talk about engaging the new member. So we're going to do them in this order. We're going to talk about wowing them, treating them like royalty. Then we're going to get to the body of this material, which is attracting them. And only if we have time will we talk about engaging them. Now, all of this should be on the handout. You should all have received a link to a handout. I hope you have it. It's a 3-page handout. Okay, I'm seeing a couple of shaking heads. I have the link to the handout right here, and I'm going to put it in the chat. I suggest downloading it and looking at it. You can print it and write on it. And one of the things I always do with my handouts is that the back page is resources, including a link back to the handout. So if you write all over the handout and you want a clean copy, you can go print one. So grab the handout. That's what we're working from today. When I moved here to Sequim, I looked at the club. There's one club in my city, and I looked at it, and I looked at the club in Port Angeles, and I looked at the club, a club in Port Townsend. Those are the 2 closest cities, and I ended up joining the club in Sequim, only because it was close and convenient. We met in a dungeon. We met in a dungeon. We met in the basement of a real estate office. You had to go down some concrete stairs, narrow concrete stairs with no light, into a room where the ceilings were about this tall and they had track lighting. So you had to duck under the track lighting. The track lighting pointed in every direction. So no matter where you sat in the room, you had a bright light shining in your eye. It was a horrible place to meet. Thank goodness they threw us out. They threw us out because the owner of the real estate office let a bunch of other groups meet there. And somebody was walking down the stairs in the wintertime when the stairs were icy and slipped and probably whispered the word Sue. And suddenly nobody could meet there. Well, that was great because the club officers were never going to look for a new place because that place had the one quality that club officers look for: free. Well, we got kicked out. We went and found another place. It was nicer. It had light. It had high ceilings. It was also free. Now, it happened to be in the cafeteria or the dining room of a assisted living facility, which meant we had to kind of bust the tables before we could start our meeting. But it served us for a few years. And then we found another place that was free, that was smaller and more intimate. But also worked for us. And that's where we were when COVID hit. And of course, we had to go online. But there are free places out there. And you need to look at your venue. Is your venue a good place for wowing the group, for wowing your guests? Now, when I first came to Toastmasters 30 years ago, April of 30 years ago, I walked in the room. It was in the basement of a skyscraper. It was just a meeting room. The meeting room was unimportant. What was important was the club I saw there. I saw 3 speeches that I thought were pretty good. I was there to improve my public speaking skills. 3 speeches that were pretty good. Table topics that was fun and created laughter and that I got to participate in. And then I saw 3 evaluations that told the people who were pretty good how to be even better. By the time that meeting was done, I was wow. You couldn't have dragged me out of there before I wrote a check to join that club. They had what I wanted. And it had that wow factor. And we need to build that into our meetings. So I talked about venue. Do you start and end on time? I met a woman who joined her club because her club started and ended on time. And it was the first meeting she'd ever attended that started and ended on time. And that wowed her. I think her wow bar is a little low, personally, but that's her choice. Are your members doing project speeches? Now, there are people who resist doing project speeches. That's okay. You don't have to have 100% people doing project speeches, but why do we want people to do project speeches? Because they push us to do things we wouldn't ordinarily do. The classic example, I remember, I was marinated in the legacy system. Fine. One of the speeches that was in legacy system is also in the new system is working with words. Really crafting the words you're using in a speech. That's not something I will ordinarily spend a lot of time on unless I'm working a project that tells me to do that. So these projects push us to do things we wouldn't ordinarily do, which means we're growing, we're pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, and the guests get to see that. Guests perceive that. Now, I will tell you, I watched a lot of clubs as club growth director and then program quality director and district director here in 32. I watched a lot of clubs struggle. And some of them went from, 8 members, 12 members, back up to charter strength. And some of them went from 12 members to 13 members, and then they went back down to 12. And they just continued to struggle. The clubs that were very successful, the clubs that took themselves from struggling to thriving, my observation is they had 2 qualities in common, 2 things they worked on in terms of making their clubs wow. They worked on laughter and camaraderie and powerful evaluations. Now, I can understand why a guest seeing a powerful evaluation would go, wow. I was seeking to improve, and evaluations are the way one of the ways we help our members improve. Having powerful evaluations with good suggestions for improvement, properly phrased, so they're always presented in a positive way, that can really be powerful. Now, the laughter and camaraderie, that's just something we want. If we walk into a club and we see laughter and camaraderie, we don't have enough of that in our lives. We want that. So the first thing to do is look at your club. Go back to your club. Try to put on a guest mindset and just sit back and look at your club. Is there laughter? Is there camaraderie? Would I be wowed by the evaluations? I was a member of a club, and I admit that we had fairly good presenters, but we had a lot of mediocre evaluations. We had a lot of whitewashes. So myself and several other of the more advanced members, we conspired. We conspired because what we did is we said, okay, there's 4 of us. We're going to sign up to be the general evaluator as often as we can. And if we can't be general evaluator, we're going to sign up to be an evaluator. Now, the general evaluator is giving comments on how the evaluators can improve, and how the Toastmaster can do a better job, and how the Table Topics Master can do a better job. That's what the general evaluator does. So we signed up and gave weight to the general evaluator role. And if we weren't doing that, we were demonstrating powerful evaluations. A few years later, after a little bit of time, this club is giving powerful evaluations and is growing. So you can spend some time and effort on that to really make your clubs wow the guest when they come in. Now let's talk a little about treating guests like royalty. The club I was a part of before COVID, we used to have a handout. We used to have a little folder. Guests would come in, here's a folder, tells you a little about Toastmasters, a little bit about the roles in the meeting, things like that. That was part of us treating them well.
Kyle, we have someone who has raised their hand. Would you like to take a question right now? Or
so ask the question now, and I'll tell you if I'm going to answer it now.
okay, go ahead, Linda.
My question is regarding that to wow your guests.
Yep.
Do you suggest having a completed agenda before the meeting even begins? I've been at club meetings where the agenda is not full, so individuals come in and they're completing the agenda. Oh, well, who would like to do this? We don't have this and this and that. So what do you feel about that? What's your experience with that?
I feel strongly that the agendas have to be complete and thorough the day before the meeting. All the roles should be filled the day before the meeting. You should be able to publish the agenda either in print form or a link, because if you're meeting online, you just send a link to your guests. Hey, here's the agenda for tonight. You should have all the roles filled the day before the meeting. I have walked into clubs where they were literally figuring out the agenda before the club started. And I have to tell you, that's underwhelming. As a Toastmaster, that's underwhelming. As a guest, you walk in and what you see is chaos and confusion. And that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for order and structure. And the last thing you want to know is, is this meeting going to work? I mean, I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow. I want to see people that impress me, and people who are figuring out the agenda while I'm sitting there isn't going to impress me. And of course, that brings us to one of the other items is if you have a guest come in, whether you are in person or online, you should be able to share an agenda with them. You might want to share a greeting packet with them or a link to a greeting packet. My club hasn't done that. We haven't taken the physical packet that we used to hand out and created a folder, an online folder where that material exists so we can send them a link. I would like us to do that. Do you give your guests a chance to participate? Now, we always ask club members to introduce themselves at the beginning of the meeting. We try to give them a chance to participate in table topics. What's one of the two primary purposes, actually three primary purposes of table topics. Just Give members of the club who do not have a larger speaking role a chance to speak. That's one. Introduce humor into the club, because table topics is a great place to have to, by the way you phrase the question, you can encourage humor. And three, give guests a chance to participate. Now they have to have the right to say no, but this is really their chance to step up and face their fear. And it's a good chance to do that. So we have to teach our table topics masters, ask the guests, ask a Toastmaster first, but ask the guests. Give them a chance to participate. At the end of the meeting, do you ask your guests what they thought? Do you ask them for their impressions of the meeting? One, it's good feedback. It's good feedback. But two, it lets them know we care about how they felt about the meeting, what their experience was. And that's critical. Now, I want to ask you this. Some of you, if you've heard this presentation before, I think somebody was at this presentation before, you may know the answer. If you do, don't shout it out here. What are the 5 magic words for turning a guest into a member? There are 5 magic words for turning a guest into a member. Would you like to unmute and take a guess?
Would you like to join our club?
Yes, Tom, thank you. Yes. Would you like to join? Would you like to join is the 5 magic words. And so many of us don't ask that question. I taught this in a president's training a number of years ago. And 2 weeks later, the phone rings and I'm like, hello. And the guy's on the other phone. It works. It works. Great, I'm glad it works. Who are you? What are you talking about? He's like, oh, I was at the president's training and you told us to ask the 5 magic words and we had a guest come in and I did it. And they said, yes, it works. It really does. But we don't ask. A lot of us are waiting for the guest to ask. The guests aren't going to ask. They're not going to. They're waiting for us to ask them. They want to be welcomed. They want to be invited in. They don't want to have to pry the door open. And why don't we ask? A lot of us don't ask because 1, we're afraid of rejection. Oh, they might say no. Or 2, we're afraid of pressuring people. Well, if I went up to Ravina and said, Ravina, do you want to join the club? Yeah, that comes across as pressuring. It does. Hey, Ravina, how'd you like the meeting? Oh, okay. Well, would you like to join the club?
Yes, if you ask me that way. Yes.
Exactly. How'd you like the meeting? You get something positive. If they say no, you didn't like the meeting, don't ask the question. But if they say, yeah, I like the meeting, then you say, would you like to join the club? It's that simple. There's no pressure. And by the way, if she says, no, not this time, I'm not ready, I need, you're like, that's okay. That's okay. Come back, visit as often as you want. Go visit other clubs. Would you like to know some other clubs in the area? I'll tell you about them. Go visit other clubs. You see which club fits you best. But come back as often as you want and let me know if you'd like to join. Now, if she comes back again, I'm going to have the same conversation with you. Hey, what do you think of the meeting? And if she goes, hey, I liked it. Would you like to join now? The point is there's no pressure, but there's also no downside to her saying no. All I do is say, that's okay. Come back as often as you want. You're always welcome. And by the way, if you want to know about some other clubs, I'll tell you about those too. Does that make sense? That's how you treat a guest like royalty. So we bring them into the club, we wow them with our meetings, but we as a club have to do that first. We treat them like royalty and they say yes to becoming a guest. Now let's step back in time and talk about marketing the club. And we're going to start with the simplest thing. Toastmasters will tell you that the personal invitation is the single most effective way to get a person to come to a meeting. And I think they're right. And marketing will tell you, any marketing expert will tell you, the personal referral which is essentially an invitation, but a personal referral is the single most powerful way of marketing. But I've asked dozens of people, hey, do you want to come to my club? And they go, no. You've probably asked all your relatives and all your friends, hey, do you want to come to my club? And they go, no. Why is that? And how do we change that? How do we ask the question so that somebody says yes? Well, if I went up to Alita, and Alita's a friend of mine, if I went up to her and I said, hey, Alita, do you want to come to my meeting tonight? Do you want to come check out my club? I'm just saying, do you want to come check out my club? There's an implication there. There's an implication that I'm asking, do you want to join my club? Do you want to come check out my club so you can join the club? And she understands an implication, even though I didn't say, would you like to join the club? Because she hasn't seen it yet. Are any of you wasting away for lack of clubs in your life? No, nobody wants to join a new club. It's like it's like going up to somebody and saying, would you like to buy insurance? The answer is no. Nobody wants to buy insurance. The only time they buy insurance is after they understand the value of the insurance in case of whatever disaster it is they're worried about. Only then will they buy the insurance. So we need to stop asking people, would you like to come check out my club? Would you like to come visit my club? That implies, would you like to join? And they don't want to join. What we need to do is ask them differently. And the first thing we should do is ask them to come to support you. So you're asking a friend, hey, Alita, I'm doing this presentation on Saturday. I'm doing this Club Marketing 101. I've worked hard on it. I've put it together. I'm really nervous. I could use a supportive face in the audience. Would you come and just be a supportive face in the audience? And I'm seeing her nod. That's a different ask. Would you come and be my friend and just be a supportive place in the audience? There's no expectations placed on her except being there. Now, hopefully, the wowing aspect of the club will make her want to join. So you can ask them to come and support you. You can ask them, hey, we're doing this session. We're doing this meeting on storytellers. And I know that Anne-Marie's a great storyteller. So Anne-Marie, we're doing this session on storytelling. Would you like to come and be a great story and see our session and give us feedback? Or even better, we're doing the session on storytelling. Would you like to come and participate? We'd love a storyteller. You got a short 5 to 7 minutes, ask her to come and participate. So that's not asking them to come to the meeting, that's asking them to be part of the meeting. If you're doing a speech on a particular subject that somebody is interested in, hey, we're going to talk about sales, and somebody's a salesperson. Perfect time to invite them. Now, by the way, remember I mentioned inviting somebody to come and support you, to be a friendly face in the audience. This is the perfect invitation for the new member. The mentor for the new member should be teaching him to do this. So the mentor takes the new member aside and says, hey, Alita, you just joined the club. You're going to be giving your icebreaker speech in 3 weeks' time. We've got you on the schedule. Invite some of your friends to come and be friendly faces in the audience to support you. And 6 weeks after that, she's doing her second speech. Alita, you're going to do your second speech. Invite your friends back to be a supportive face in the audience. Hey, you've gone through exercise 2, project 2 in path 1, which is all about evaluation feedback. You're going to be giving your first evaluation. Invite your friends to come and be a supportive face in the audience. Every time she's doing something she's never done before, that's a time for fear and nervousness. She can invite her friends to come and be supportive faces in the audience. I'm going to be Toastmaster for the first time. Do you want to come and be a supportive face in the audience? Every time she's doing something she's never done before. And she's slowly drawing them in. And of course, when they join, mentors teach them to do the same thing. That's a great invitation for the new member. When I joined Toastmasters over in District 2, there was a lady there named Betty Eisenzimmer. I referred to her as the Grand Dame of District 2. She was a past international director when I met her. DTM, past international director, just a really great lady with a lot of wisdom. And she'd been in Toastmasters forever. And she will tell you, she was a businesswoman. She dealt with insurance, sold insurance. Her boss wanted her to join Toastmasters, and she told him no 7 times. And finally, he said, "You're coming to my Toastmasters meeting. I'm going to come pick you up and drive you there and drive you home at night." Well, what he didn't realize was the driving at night was one of the reasons she was saying no. She didn't like doing that. Well, he said, "I'm going to come pick you up and drive you there." And that broke that obstacle. And she went and she loved it. She was wowed and she joined. So sometimes we have to discover the obstacle, the reason somebody's saying no, and get past it. I like the "I'll come pick you up." If it's a person in my neighborhood who, hey, my club's a hybrid meeting. Well, I can't show up online, but I'd love to, but I don't know how to use Zoom. Oh, would you like me to come over and show you how to use Zoom? I also like the blatant bribe. Hey, I'm going to come pick you up, take you to the meeting, and afterwards I'll take you out for coffee. Or if I like a longer time with them and I'm willing to, I'll take you out for dinner or something. But the blatant bribe, I will come pick you up and drive you, and I'll take you out for coffee. The last technique is the non-invitation. It requires patience. It also requires the right environment. So for instance, let's say you're a corporate club and fun you had and how this person said that and you all laughed and things like you're discussing the meeting you just left while you're walking to their meeting. Don't do that. Save your discussion of the meeting, deliberately save your discussion of the meeting until you get to the next meeting. Now you walk into that meeting talking about what a great time you had and how Bob said this and we all laughed and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, and I'm looking forward to the next meeting where we're going to discuss this. And the two of you are doing that in front of everybody else who's busy getting ready for the meeting. And what you're doing is marketing your club without telling everybody we're marketing our club. It's a non-invitation. Somebody in that meeting is going to be going, wow, they're having a lot of fun. Oh, that sounds like fun. I wonder if I could go to that. Somebody's going to be thinking that. Now, they may or may not ask. You may have to do that 3 or 4 times in a row before somebody goes, can I come? Sure, come on. Yeah, no problem. So that's the non-invitation. Talk about your club in front of prospects without actually saying, hey, do you want to come check out the club? But, but if they show interest, engage them, let them know they're welcome. Those are some of the ways you can change the invitation to help make the invitation work. Let's talk about doing something beyond personal invitations, because personal invitations, you can teach these techniques to your club members. They can use them individually, as they're ready, as they meet people. Oh, before I move on, I want to mention one other thing. I had a person ask me, hey, I just met somebody. They're not a friend yet, but how can I invite them to the club? How can I engage them? And I had to think about that. And this is what I was thinking about. If I were, let's say, in line at a grocery store, and I just met somebody from my neighborhood. Hey, oh, I saw you. You just moved in. Yeah, okay, we're chatting, blah, blah, blah. And I want to plant a seed. So what I do is I say, hey, I've got this meeting coming up next week. I have to speak at it. I'm a Toastmaster. I have to speak on it. Short speech, 5 to 7 minutes. I really have no ideas on what to speak on. What comes to your mind? And they go, I don't know. How about how the price of eggs? How expensive eggs are getting? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's an interesting idea. Okay, I'll do that. So you plan the speech, and then you call them up and say, hey, you gave me that idea. I'm going to speak on the price of eggs. You want to come to the meeting and see the speech that I wrote? So it's just a way, it's a way of engaging the person you barely know and possibly getting to come to the meeting. Now, let's move on to the next section. Ask me about Toastmasters. Wearing your Ask Me About Toastmasters pin. Now, I have worn Toastmaster pins forever and nobody has ever asked me about them. I'm not saying they don't work. I'm saying some people will and some people won't. And of course, it has to be big enough. If you wear the little gold pins, no one's going to ask because they can't read them. Wear a big one like you just showed me. Ask me about Toastmasters. I like to wear my Toastmaster T-shirt around. So, let's talk about building your team. I gave this presentation at a district training. And afterwards, I had a lovely young lady come up to me, and she was so enthused. She's like, "I really want to grow my club. I really want to grow my club. We're struggling at 11 members, and I really like what you said. How can I get the club to do this?" I said, "How engaged are the other members of the club? How excited and enthused are they?" She's like, "They're not." How old are they? Well, most of them are older, 50s, 60s, 70s. So she's probably the youngest member of the club. And I said, "Okay, I'm gonna give it to you straight. You're enthused, you want to grow the club, you're excited about the prospect. That's great. But you can't do this alone. This is not a one-person job." I said, "Here's what I suggest you do. Go back and have an honest discussion with the club. Share your passion for the club. Share your passion for Toastmasters. Share your enthusiasm for growing the club. See if you can excite a spark in those members. If you can, great. If you can't, find another club. Because you'll just be frustrated if you stay there." Excuse me. Growing your club is a team effort. Yeah, the VP of PR and the VP of membership may head it up, but it's an entire club effort. Now, some of the team members you probably want are the webmaster. You need somebody who's going to be putting things, assuming your club has a website, you need somebody who's going to be updating it. You need probably a videographer or photographer, somebody who's going to take a photo of the club or maybe video snippets. You may want what some clubs call a postmaster. Some clubs use social media. My club uses Facebook. Some clubs use other groups. But let's say your club uses a social media tool. You need somebody who can take the photo or the video or a quote from the meeting and get it out onto that social media platform. So what you want to do before your meeting is you want to put something out saying, "Hey, we're meeting Tuesday night. And, here's the agenda, and here's the subject matter, and here's a link to the agenda." And then after the meeting, you need a post going out that says, "Hey, we had a great time, and Bob said this, and we all laughed. And here's a link to Sharon's handout, for those people who are interested." Follow up before and after. Now, I have had people ask me, "So should our club do Facebook? Or should our club do TikTok? Or should our club do Snapchat?" And my comment is, ask your members what social media platform they use, if any. If your club, if you ask your club, "Hey, who uses Facebook?" and 2 people out of 15 raise their hands, don't use Facebook. Because that leaves 2 people to do all the work. And nobody to share your posts. If you get 10 people out of 15, okay, most people use Facebook. That's a viable platform. How many people use Snapchat? If you'd ask that in my club, I bet you'd get 0. How many people use TikTok? Maybe. I don't know. How many people use LinkedIn? You'd probably get, the people who are still employed and professional probably raise their hand. But the point is, use whatever platform your club members are on. You don't want to say, "Oh, we're going to use TikTok," when no one uses TikTok, because now the whole club has a learning curve for possibly no gain. Before we move on to marketing principles, I want to step back. Let's imagine we are not Toastmasters. We are instead, everybody in this room is an investor. We have put our money and we've gathered together and pooled our money, and we have bought a mattress store. We sell mattresses. Well, actually, yeah, we sell mattresses. What are we marketing? Not a rhetorical question. Feel free to unmute and ask and answer. What are we marketing?
Good sleep.
Yes. Tom, that's two correct in a row. We are marketing a good night's sleep. We deliver that result by selling mattresses. Now, we're Toastmasters again. We're members of a club. We are trying to get people to join the club. We're selling membership in the club, so to speak. What are we marketing? What are we marketing? Unmute.
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence. Self-confidence. That, yes. So when I ask that question, I usually get people who go, oh, good public speaking, leadership, comfort in front of an audience, all that's true, but ultimately, if you strip off the different layers of Toastmasters, yeah, there's good leadership skills and listening skills and evaluative skills and thinking skills and speaking skills, all that's in there. But at the core of that onion, I think, is self-confidence. Confidence to deal with any human situation that comes up. So if that's what we're marketing, confidence, why, when we put up a flyer for an open house, do we say Toastmasters open house in big bold letters on the top? Does anybody want to go to an open house? No, nobody wants to go to an open house. What they want is confidence. Confidence to speak in front of an audience, confidence to talk to your neighbor, confidence to stand up and speak at their city council meeting, confidence to take a leadership role in their church. They want confidence to do something. So that's what we need to market. Let's talk about some of the mistakes we make, and some of the as clubs in our marketing. I've done this. I'm guilty of these mistakes. I've seen a lot of clubs do this. So a club is limping along at 15 members. Now, if you think that's not limping, I think it is limping, because I've seen a club lose 12 members in 3 months' time because of an argument between 2 members. So a 12-member club, they can blow away like that under the right circumstances. 15-member club could become unworkable down to 3 or 4 members in 3 months under the right circumstances. You're limping along at 15 members, but some of the members are comfortable at 15 members, so no one's doing anything. Oh, you lose 2 members. Oh, now we have to grow our club. So let's plan an open house. You plan the open house, you execute the open house. Maybe you get some guests. Maybe a guest turns into a member. And you go up to 14 members, and then you don't do anything. 6 months go by, a member leaves. Oh, hey, let's plan another event. What we're doing, what a lot of us are doing, is we're thinking about growing our clubs as discrete marketing events. We're gonna do this event and see if we get some members, and we don't plan it. We're thinking of this event as nothing to do with any event in the past or any event in the future. And that's not how marketing works. Marketing is a campaign over time with a bunch of events in it. And after every event, we're doing lessons learned so that the campaign is getting better and better and better and better. So if you have the handout I gave you, one of the things on the handout on the 3rd page is a calendar for 2022, 2023. And you can find these calendars online. That's where I got that one. I recommend sitting down with your club officers and looking at the entire year and making up a year-long marketing campaign. And we'll talk about some of the criteria for doing that, but make up a year-long marketing campaign. What are we going to do and when? What type of event do we want to have? Who do we want to attract? When are we going to have it? Who's going to plan it? We're going to plan a open house for 3 months out on a particular topic and so forth. And Betty's going to plan it, and she's going to be the chair and involve everybody else. And you put right on the calendar, this is the date of the event. A week later, this is the lessons learned, where we figure out what we did right and what we could do better. And those lessons learned get captured and moved on to the second event, and then the third event, and so forth. And then hopefully they're not all the same event. So if you walk away with nothing else from this meeting, especially as a VP of PR, I would say make a year-long plan so that you can grow and improve your club's marketing skills and your club becomes a marketing powerhouse. If you're just doing discrete events and you never have a lessons learned, you never capture the lessons, you never get better, then your club continues to limp along. Now we need to target our events. Why do we need to target our events? If you ask a club, hey, who would you like to, we're going to do an event. Who should we invite? The natural answer is going to be, oh, everybody. We should invite everybody. Well, who needs Toastmasters? Oh, everybody needs Toastmasters. Well, okay. Yeah, we're all happy cultists. We've drunk the Kool-Aid. Yeah, we think everybody needs Toastmasters. But really, we can't communicate with everybody. We can't. Unless you're Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola or McDonald's with $1 billion marketing budget, we can't communicate with everybody. We have to select. So let's narrow who we're targeting. Let's choose a niche and go after that niche. And let me give you an example. If you said you wanted to target everybody, my next question would be, okay, how are we going to communicate with them? And
Everywhere.
you're going to get a whole bunch of weird answers. Well, we'll post flyers up in the grocery store and we'll put a press release in the newspaper, and a lot of geographically based answers, which may or may not be relevant now, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. I was talking with a club. They wanted to grow. And I asked the question, who would you like to attract? What type of people would you like to attract to be members of your club? The first answer was, well, everybody, anybody. Yeah, okay, but you can't do that. So if you had to limit it, to some group of people, who would you like to attract? And then I shut up and I let him stew in the silence. And after 30 seconds, one of the members goes, well, most of us here are writers, and I'd really like to get some more writers in the group. And as soon as that person said that, 3 other people went, oh, yeah, you're right. We're all writers. And yeah, we'd like to get more writers in the group. Okay, great. You want to get writers in the group? Great. That's a great niche to go after. Okay, let's suppose we can plan an event that would attract writers to Toastmasters. We don't have to figure out what the event is yet. Let's just suppose we plan it. How would you communicate that to that writing group, to the writers out there? And they immediately said, well, there's a writer's store in town. I bet we could put up flyers there. And somebody else said, well, even better, the owner of the store probably has an email list of customers, and he might be willing to send emails to them. And somebody else said, yeah, and I belong to a writer's Facebook group. I could post it there. And somebody else said, well, I belong to another writer's group, and I could post it there. And then there's somebody else, well, I belong to a writer's group that's local over there, and I can let. And suddenly the ideas for how to communicate with the group just started flowing. As soon as they had a niche, it became really clear and obvious how to communicate with them. Okay, next step. You know how you're going to communicate with them. What are you going to put together what could you offer them that would attract them? And they walked around some ideas for a while, but after about 10 minutes, they came up with what we really need, because it's Toastmasters and we're attracting writers, is we really need a topic on how to use speaking to market your writing. How to use speaking to market your product, basically. And it's like, that's brilliant. Let's see if there's somebody who does that. 5 minutes on the internet, we found a writer who does a talk on how to use speaking to market your writing, and they invited her. Now, you could probably plan this in 3 months, but we were in November and we're looking at the Christmas season. It's like, nope, stay the heck away from that. So we planned this for February, I believe it was. So they're in November, they planned it for February, 4 months out. They asked her if she could come and do it. She said yes. They put together the plan, their marketing material, their verbiage around the meeting, and they used the channels they had identified to market it. They got 42 guests in that meeting. 42 guests. I don't know how many of them turned into members, but 42 writers showed up because they used the channels, they narrowed the niche, they used the communication channels they identified for that niche, and they chose a subject that was of interest to that niche. That's a lot of guests. So this can really work if you choose to target, if you're willing to target, if you're, and one of the things I've seen is, well, yeah, but what if we choose the wrong group? Well, if you choose the wrong group, that becomes part of your lessons learned, and you choose another group for the next thing. Or maybe we chose the wrong group but didn't communicate with them right. Maybe we chose writers and we tried to talk about how to improve your writing. And maybe writers don't want to be told how to improve their writing. Maybe they want to be told something else. So that becomes part of your lessons learned. And if you don't like the group, you're not married to the group. Oh, we invited writers this time. Well, okay. So you don't want to invite writers next time. Maybe you want to go after soccer moms. Go after soccer moms next time. But choose to narrow the niche and try it and experiment, and they take the lessons learned and make your club better at marketing. Now you want your creativity, you want your marketing to be creative and fun, and you want to measure the results. What worked? So how do you do that? Now, measuring marketing is a scary thing. A lot of people think it's requires a lot of technology and whatnot. It doesn't. So let's say you put out you're going to put a Facebook ad out. You give them a link to register for the meeting. You putting something in the newspaper. You give them a phone number to call to register for the meeting. You're putting something out in bulletins around your town, in churches or whatever. You give them an email to register for the meeting. That's 3 different ways they can register for the meeting. And you can tell which one's working by how many registrants you get via that channel. It's really easy. Now, in this day and age, I have an email, my wife has an email, I have a cell phone, my wife has a cell phone, I have a home phone. There's 5 vehicles by which I could measure marketing in my home alone. Never mind if I start involving the other committee members. So it's not hard to measure what's working. Now, if you put out an ad in Facebook and you get almost no registrants, okay, either Facebook isn't working or the ad isn't working. So try a different ad in Facebook. Oh, the different ad worked, great, okay. Or put 2 ads out in Facebook, one this way and one this way. See which one works. Oh, this one works, this one doesn't. Take this one, throw it away. Now we take this one and see if we can improve it, make it even better for next time. It's how we grow our capability and improve it. The one thing that is required for this, though, is that you give yourself time for marketing and PR of the event. I like to think of, if I was going to plan an event, I give it 3 months, minimum of 3 months. You need to form your committee. You need to decide what type of event you're going to do. You need to figure out what your niche you're going after. You need to, unless you're doing a continuing niche, following a decision from a previous meeting, you need to figure out what niche you're going after and all that stuff. And then you need to write the marketing material. And you take 6 to 8 weeks of getting the material out in front of people to get them to register for the meeting. 3 months minimum. And if you're going to do a high performance leadership, I tack a month on either end, because there's overhead for the high performance leadership chair. The important concept here is marketing researchers will tell you, if you put up a sign, people will have to walk by the sign 5 to 8 times before they even notice the sign. Now, they're not seeing the sign and trying to make a decision. They haven't even noticed that the sign is there. 5 to 8 times, they suddenly notice the sign is there. Maybe they read it, maybe they don't. And if they read it, now they can make a decision, do I want what you're selling or not? But they have to see it 5 to 8 times before they even notice it. So that means you have to give them time to walk by it 5 to 8 times. Now, I'm using the walking by metaphor. If you're putting it online, you may have to post it 4 or 5 times. If you're mentioning it in, let's say, church bulletins that you're going to do this meeting, you may have to post it 2, 3, 4 times before anyone notices it. If you are putting posters up in a grocery store or in a coffee shop, that literally applies. You may have to put the flyers up 4 or 5 times before anyone's going to notice it. It may have to sit there on the table for 5 weeks before anyone notices it. So you need to give yourself the time to do that. Now, we are in a post-COVID or maybe continuing COVID world. This has changed things because a lot of us, how many of you are in-person only clubs? Raise your hand. Nobody. Okay. Anybody here in online only clubs? Okay, several people. One of the things, my home club went online for 2 years and now we are hybrid. So we are in room and online. I will tell you that this has opened doors for us. We're a small city on the north coast of the Olympic Peninsula. It used to be we only marketed to people within 5 or 10 miles of swim. That was our limit. It was geographically limited. That's not the case anymore. We are not geographically limited. As a matter of fact, now a quarter of our club are international members. A quarter of our club are international members. We have members from South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Taiwan. We have a lady from Malaysia who might be joining us. And one member from California. That's not international, but it might as well be for the distances involved. Because we're not geographically based, we can now make different marketing decisions. My club has 2 members in it who made it to the World Championship stage, and they both took 3rd place. Obviously not the same year. They both took 3rd place. So what we decided to do was we decided to focus on, hey, let's see if we can coach some competitive hopefuls to do better, to get ready for district and or get better and get ready for the semifinals and the finals. So we did that, and we did a series, a 3-meeting series where each meeting had 2 people giving their contest speeches, and then they got coached by the 2 people who had made it to 3rd place, and they got feedback from the audience. It was very successful. We got 4 or 5 new members from that alone, from doing that 3-meeting series. Now, but that's the strength that our club has because we happen to have those 2 members. What strength does your club have? Maybe your club has great real estate experience. Well, market to real estate people. Maybe your club is full of retirees who have a lot of knowledge about how to have a wonderful retirement. Then market to retirees or people who are about to retire. Figure out what your strength is and use it. Just like the club that's full of writers, marketed to writers. Now, I'm going to skip talking about the website in the interest of time, just because there are things you can do on your website to draw people in. The only thing I want to say about your website is get the stock imagery off of it. If you're using Free Toast Toast, get the stock imagery off of it. You know, the 2 people at the lectern shaking hands. Because if I'm visiting clubs and I go and visit 4 clubs, if I visit 4 club web pages and I see 3 of them with the same stock imagery and one that's different, I'm automatically interested in the one that's different. And what you want is pictures of your club members at the lectern speaking, and if possible, the audience laughing. If you can get that picture, that's gold. If you can't get the audience laughing, then get the photo of your members speaking. When I first joined the swim club, the photo on the webpage was everyone standing around the club banner. Guests don't know what a club banner is. The club banner doesn't mean anything to them. That's a photo for Toastmasters. So move it to the member page, to the member specific page, but get it off the home page where make the home page guest specific. If a guest is showing up, there, that's the first page they're going to see. Give them all the information they need to decide to come visit your club. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. I'm skipping over outbound marketing for the moment because I think you guys probably know about open houses. You probably know about speech crafts. You probably know about bringing guest speakers, inviting a guest speaker in to speak on a topic. So you guys can probably figure that out. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. You're a small club, 8 members, 12 members, and you want to grow. Now, when I joined the swim club, they were at 12 members. And they asked me to be president the following year. And I said, sure, but I want to get us up to charter membership. And our first meeting as officers, I said, I want to get us up to charter membership. We need to grow our membership. And I admit, I blinded myself to the eye rolling I was getting from my fellow officers. They were, oh, yeah. And one person actually looked at me and said, trying to grow your membership doesn't work. We sat at the table outside of the grocery store for 8 hours asking people if they wanted to join our club, and no one joined. And at that point, I realized I have a steeper hill to climb than I thought I did. I'm not even going to talk about the fact that you don't ask people to make life-changing decisions that cost them $100 a year outside of a grocery store. You sell them a $1 raffle ticket. The reason I was getting the eye rolling was we were a 12-member club. All the members had to be involved in every meeting. Everybody had to have a role. Because, if you have a 12-member club, 9 of them are the ones showing up. You have 3 speakers, 3 evaluators, Toastmaster, table topics. Somebody has to be timer, odd counter, and grammarian. Everybody has to have a role every meeting. Now you're asking them to do something extra to grow the club. They're exhausted. They have what I call meeting fatigue. They're just exhausted. They never get to take a meeting off. They never get to sit back and relax. They're exhausted. So what do you do? I have seen clubs that were at 4 and 5 members, and they had such pride that they met every week. They always had a speaker and an evaluator, and somebody did table topics, and they met every week, even though they're 4 or 5 members. And my comment is stop. You're exhausting your members. You're exhausting them. You're not going to grow any membership with members who are tired. So we need to conserve our members' energy. If you're at 8 members and meeting every week and you're tired, and it requires a frank discussion. You need to be able to sit around the table with your fellow officers and fellow members and say, are we tired? Are we too tired to do this? Let's just be frank about it. And if you are, fine. That's, if you're not, okay, then you can ignore this section. But if you are, how do we conserve our energy so we can grow our club? Okay, let's not meet every week. Let's have a Toastmaster meeting, a regular, fully planned Toastmasters meeting once a month. Another once a month, we do just table topics. So we have 2 meetings, one of which is full, one of which is just table topics. We can invite people to those. The other meeting, one meeting is planning the marketing of our club, how we're going to grow our club. We're going to plan it and think about it. And the other meeting we take off. That gives us all some downtime. How about that? So you can gather, your members can have enough energy to do the work to grow your club. Now, one of the things that happens when clubs are small and the members are tired is they tend to think, oh yeah, okay, we need to grow a club. Okay, we can do an open house. I've done dozens of open houses. I know how to do those. Yeah, okay. We'll set the day and we'll just put up some flyers. What they're doing is they're saying we're going to do the same old thing we've never done before, and we're not going to think about it. No, you need more planning, not less. You need more targeted, not less. Let's say you've been targeting, we used to target people within 5 miles of swim. That is too broad a niche. Now, let's target, let's choose a smaller niche. It makes it easier to communicate, and we can put something together that's more interesting to them. So we need to do more planning, not less, more targeting, not less. And here's the gorgeous thing when you're targeting that narrowly. You can test before you do any work. Let me give you an example. Let's say we decided our club has a few realtors in it. We decide we want to advertise to the realtor market. Okay. So we said, well, let's put together a speaker meeting. We'll find a speaker who can speak on a topic, and we'll market to the realtors. Okay. What's a good title? How about how to show a house? Okay. So we come up with a title, how to show a house. We write up 2 sentences on what it's going to cover. 2 sentences only. We haven't done any other work. Now, you go to the local broker who owns the real estate business, or you go to the head of the local real estate association, and you say, if we did a session on this, would your people come to it? And then the broker's probably like, no. And the real estate association person's probably like, yeah, maybe not. That's great. That's good to know. We've just written a title in 2 sentences. That's all the work we've done. And we just found out you're not going to do it. You're not going to come. That's great. Next question. What type of session would they come to? Well, the broker's probably going to say something like, how about how to find new clients? Oh, okay. So you go home, you come up with a title, come up with 2 sentences, you come back and say, hey, is this something they'd come to? And now the broker's going, oh yeah, if you do that, not only will they come to it, I'll send them. And the real estate association person's probably like, yep, that's good. So yeah. Well, if we did this, would you send, if we put together the marketing paragraph and the link to register, would you send it out to your folks? Oh, sure, I'll do that. Yeah. So what I've just described to you in that story is, 1, test before you go. Get a concept, don't do any work other than title and 2 sentences, and find out whether it will work with your niche by talking to somebody who knows. And the other is partner with a larger group. If you're going to the brokers, it's partnering with a larger group. The broker can send their realtors. If you're talking to the real estate association, that's partnering with a larger group. If you want to talk to small business people, obviously you would talk to the Chamber of Commerce in your area. Now, if you want to, there was a group that wanted to start a club in Federal Way, south of Seattle. And they were talking, some of them were members of a church, and the church had leaders, people who were stepping up to leadership roles who were horrible. They were horrible at leading. They were really bad at it. And the church wanted them to be better at it. And these people wanted to start a club, and they said, let's partner. We'll start a club. The church will provide the room, and the church will send members, and we'll lead that club is still in existence. It's been there for like 10 years now. So partner with a group larger than yourself. And of course, if you're a small group, ask for help. Now, it used to be you had to ask for help from the local geography. If Squim were doing something, we were small, we would have to ask, the Port Angeles or the Port Townsend people to come and help out. We don't have to do that now because we're online. So ask, if you're a small club and you want to do an event, 1, you want a few members. You want more than just your members there. You want some other Toastmasters there who aren't there to market their club. They're just there to participate and support your efforts. So go to an advanced club or any large club in your area and say, hey, we're doing this thing. Could you send 4 or 5 members of your club to participate, to be Toastmasters? They don't get a chance to sit shoulder to shoulder like we used to in a room, but they can sit online and participate and be active and involved. And it gives the impression that your club is a little bit larger and healthier than it is. So ask somebody who can help you. And as I said, they can be online. Ask for a club coach. Go ahead, Rowena.
We're almost at time. We're one minute left.
Only 1 minute left. Okay.
Yes. Would you like to take any questions right now, or can
Sure.
people?
Sure.
Or should we just send you the questions? Would you be open to getting the questions later on an individual basis?
And so my email is on the bottom of my handout, so you can certainly send me questions later. But let's move on to Q&A.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the first question that has come in is, when would you ask someone who's visiting the club to join, or what they thought about the club? Would it be at the very end that you would ask them, or after the meeting?
I would always wait to the end of the meeting. Give them a chance to be wowed by your meeting. If you're asking them when they're walking in the door, you are looking very, very needy, and you will scare them away. You want them to see value. You want them to be wowed. And then you say, hey, what do you think of the meeting? And if they go, wow, that was a great meeting, you say, would you like to join?
Yeah.
If you ask them, hey, that was a great meeting, they go, well, it was okay. Now I would say, okay, I understand. What would have made the meeting better? What would have made this meeting better? And they go, well, I really wanted to see humor. Oh, well, this was a serious meeting. We were talking about loss and, whatever, or leadership, or, invite them back. Tell them, oh, yeah, we have more humor. The point is, if they're not excited by what they saw, that's not the time to ask them. Invite them back,
Okay.
but don't hesitate to say what would have made the meeting better. What else?
One other quick question, and then
Sure.
I'll wrap up. Tom asked the question that they're an advanced club and they are looking for advanced speakers. How do you market to a niche like that?
Okay. Just to give myself credibility to answer this question, during COVID lockdown, I started 2 online advanced clubs. Both of them are niche. Now, one of them is called Nerd Masters, and we started because we were the group that was supporting the district moving our contests online onto Zoom, and we were the group that helped our district do that. And we had so much fun together learning Zoom and learning that process and whatnot. When the contest season was done, we said we don't want to stop meeting, so we decided to start a club. And our focus is on the intersection of technology and leadership and communication. That's the club's focus. And we are an eclectic group of fun-loving Toastmasters. The other group is Laugh Lab Story Masters. And if you listen to the title, it tells you what we are. We're an advanced club focusing on humor and storytelling.
Right.
Now, right there, I've just told you, I think the secret is focus. Choose a niche. Yes, you're an advanced club. Don't just be an advanced club. Be an advanced club with a focus. Now, there are leadership clubs out there. That's great. I will tell you that leadership clubs tend to, my observation is that clubs that say they want to focus on leadership, they tend to struggle for a while to find out who they really are, what aspects of leadership they want to focus on.
Right.
But choose what you want to focus on or what demographic you want to focus on. Maybe you're an advanced club for professional speakers. Maybe you're an advanced club for people who want, for nonprofits who need to represent themselves out to the world and need to be able to talk about what they do in a cohesive, persuasive fashion without selling.
Without selling.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kyle. Well, the attendees, if you found value in all the tips that Kyle has given us, and their wonderful suggestions on the handout, please feel free to share. And we hope that you will share this information with your clubs. Lastly, I'm going to ask that we will post a link to a survey that Kyle would like for you to fill out. If you could just take literally 2 minutes to fill that out, that would be wonderful for feedback given to Kyle. And, it will just help make the workshop better.
Yep.
Tech Chair, can you please stop the recording at this point? And thank